Obed Gamino, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
So I like to give everybody a little bit of background about my guest. So, I met you several years ago by accident. Actually, my wife recognized a player that you were coaching. And so that's how we came to know you and got you training with our daughter. But I wanted to, before we get into all the details of all that stuff, what I want to do is I want to get a little bit of background about you. So why don't you give us a little bit of background about you, where you're from, what you used to do, how you got into coaching and stuff like that.
So, thanks for having me, first of all. I started playing soccer since I was 3, 4 years old. I'm from Mexico. My family immigrated here when I was 9. Here in the United States, I started playing Sunday leagues. They're very popular in the Hispanic community. We used to play Fridays, Saturdays, Sundays. Then a friend of mine invited me to play rec, which back in the days was AYSO. Honestly, I'm not sure if it still exists or not. When I was like 11 or 12, I got invited to play competitive soccer, which back in the days it used to be called Carlsbad Lightning, which now I believe is CDSC. I played there for about 10 to 19, and unfortunately I didn't make it pro. I didn't play college. I only made it to high school. And when I was 12, I met a coach who was really, really, really good. He helped me out because I come from a very low-income family, and that's how I got into coaching.
Oh, cool. So this coach that got you in, was it something that you just started like helping him coach, or like how did it get started where you were actually working with athletes, with younger kids?
So I got into coaching because of this individual coach. He helped me out. He took care of me like if I was one of his kids. The impact that he made on me, I will be forever grateful with him. Unfortunately, he passed away a few years ago due to cancer. And because of the impact that he made on me, I learned that we as coaches, we have such a huge impact in kids. Sometimes we don't know how to utilize that power. And because of the impact that he made on me, I was like, you know what? This is the route that I think I can help the next generation of athletes because of my experience that I went through.
So that being said, like, what would you say is your style of coaching like? So this guy had an impact, this coach had an impact on, which I agree, all coaches have impact. I've been impacted by several coaches. I've actually had my former coaches as guests on the show because they had such an impact in my life, not just on the field, but off the field as well. So I totally agree with that. But what would you say is, like, what philosophies did you get from your coach that you use for your coaching now? Or was it just more so that you like the fact that this stranger that you didn't really know wasn't part of your family, I'm assuming, right?
He was not.
That he just decided to give you his time, his knowledge, and to breathe life into you so that you could actually become something in your community to help other people. Like, what was that something that he taught you, or was that something that you just took from what you learned from him, like that he gave to you, you wanted to give to other people?
So it's a very interesting question. I remember when I was a teenager, I always asked, how can a stranger help you more than your own family? And what I mean by that was because I come from a very low-income family. We didn't have the financial resources. My mom was a single mother. And I always asked that. Unfortunately, I never had my parents at my soccer games because, like I said, we were low-income. And this coach of mine will pick me up, will pay for all my expenses. He will sponsor me. He will buy me shoes. Sometimes he would let me sleep at his house. And the impact was, for me, what I take from that was that I felt the fact that he made me feel welcome or be one of his family members. The bigger the relationship a trainer or a coach has with their athletes, I feel like the bigger the result it's going to be. So what I take from him was that he made me feel part of his family, and that's what I apply into my trainings. I feel like the relationships that we build with our athletes or players beyond the soccer field will give us better results in the game. I feel like the game, it's the cherry on the cake.
So it's easier. It sounds like what you're saying is that the game's the easy part to teach, but it's more so the more important part of it is the relationship that you can build because it helps to develop the player better.
Correct. I agree. That's the philosophy that I learned from him, or that I take on from him.
So, having that philosophy, I mean, I've had a front row seat to see that because we found you, I want to say, either 6 or 8 years ago.
Almost 9.
9 years now. That's how fast it's gone by. So 9 years ago, we found you, and so like I said, we found you by accident. And I don't know if Lisa told you this or we told you this in the past, but the reason why we noticed you wasn't because of you; it was because of one of your students. So we were at the field over by OG's off the 15.
Come Ranch Rec.
Yeah, we were at that field in a regular game. Jaden had her little club game, and one of her teammates, Nina, was on the team. And so we've been watching Nina because she played with Jaden for many years. And in that game, we were sitting down watching the game. I remember it was early in the morning, and I noticed like a difference in her play. And I was like, wow, she looks super like confident in what she's doing. She's got the ball away from her. She's like defending. I've never seen her do that before. Like, where did that come from? Like, how did that just happen? And I was talking to my wife about it, and she's like, oh, yeah, well, she started training. Chris and Raquel said that she started, or Chris Raquel said they started training with this guy, and he's in. I said, well, who's this guy? And then Lisa talked to them, found out exactly who you were, and then we set up a session to meet with you. So when we took Jaden to go meet with you, I remember it was late at night at RB Park, and you were doing drills with her and stuff. And I'm very like, I look very intently on what a coach is doing, like because I'm a coach myself. I've been a coach for many years. So in today's day and age, there's so many coaches out there, and you don't know who's good, who knows what they're doing, or who's just trying to make a buck. Which I don't fault people for doing that. It's a business, right? But I know really quickly whether somebody either has something good to offer or doesn't. And the thing that I liked about you in that training was I liked the pace that you went with. I liked that you kept it fun and positive, and that she was actually working. Like, that's what I got from you. So I just wanted to let the audience know, like, I have a personal relationship with you for many years because of my daughter, and that's the reason why we chose you. Do you think that when you train a new athlete of yours, do you think that they gravitate towards you more so because of the way that you are with them, or more so because of the drills that you do?
That's a hard one. But if I'm honest, I think honestly because of the drills, first of all. Because if it wasn't challenging, they wouldn't be back. Or if they weren't learning, they wouldn't be back at the end of the day. But I feel like, if I'm honest, the secret sauce to the success that we have built throughout these years has been my relationship with the kids, or because of the way that I am. I always tell families that I'm a very funny guy. I like to interact with the kids a lot. I'm not such a huge fan of the whole professional world, like coach and this. I'm not a fan of that. Me personally, the way that I do my trainings, I like to interact with the kids more. I feel like the bigger the relationships, the more the results we're gonna get out of them.
So the drill. So that being said, like, there's so many different coaches out there. Would you consider yourself like an individual skills coach? Would you consider yourself like an overall soccer coach? Like, how would you define your business?
My business, I define it, I like to focus more on the foundation. I feel like the kids nowadays lack foundation. I feel like a lot of trainers want to cut corners. They want to go from step 1 to step 5. But if kids don't have step 2, 3, and 4, they're going to struggle as they get older into their careers. I love foundation. I love the basic stuff. I love my students to be very finesse. I want people to be like, oh, you train with Obed. Oh, I can see why you train with Obed.
So more fundamentals.
Yes.
The fundamentals. So that being said, I mean, it's tough. I can see why parents gravitate towards their kids that do fancy stuff with certain coaches, because it's all online. Everything's on social media. Everybody wants to like post their kid doing fantastic stuff or skillful looking stuff, which I always found it funny because as a coach myself, like, fundamentals is key. Like, we can't teach, as a defensive back coach in football, I can't teach anything to a DB if he doesn't know his stance, if he doesn't know how to pedal correctly, if he doesn't know how to use his hips and turn. I can't teach you anything. I can't automatically show you how to be a great player if you don't know the basic steps. So I totally understand that. But a lot of parents are always, it seems like a lot of them are looking for like the fancy thing. And the thing I liked about when Jaden came to train with you was it was always just repetitive drills, movement, different. I saw small little things, and I'm not a soccer guy, so I've become a soccer guy over many years of watching. But I never knew much about soccer growing up. We played in rec, but it wasn't like when I grew up playing soccer wasn't a big deal. And I grew up in the South Bay, which is where soccer probably was bigger than it was up here because we're right there by the border, and it's a Mexican sport, right?
Yeah, no, 100%.
But for us down there, it wasn't that there wasn't like big leagues and stuff like that because there's not a lot of money down there.
Correct.
Especially at the time. I don't know now. Maybe it's a little bit better, but it wasn't back then. But I love the way that you interact with the drills. I like how you make it challenging, and I like how the kids are always learning more in terms of like the IQ of the game. How important is it for you, and how early do you start teaching IQ to your players?
I feel, in my opinion, that a kid now, so I'm not sure if you know about, like, there's 3 formats of the game. There's 7v7, 9v9, 11v11. Me personally, a kid who plays 7v7 should not even care about IQ or the formation. They should be playing with the soccer ball as much as they can. They should be getting touches. Because if a kid doesn't have the foundation or the fundamentals unlocked when they get to a certain age, they're not going to be able to keep possession of the ball. They're not even going to be, coaches are going to be telling them, hey, Jaden, I need you to move this position. But yes, if you don't have the proper body language, you don't have the proper first touch, if you don't understand where should your first touch go, like, they're going to struggle. And that's why we, as a program, we focus more on the fundamentals and the foundations. Once they get, I want to say like 13, 14, that's when they should be actually caring more about the game. Before that, in my opinion, they should be focusing more on the individual side of the game.
So that being said, it seems like there's two different paths for a soccer player. There's the training that they do on their own and the training that they do with their club. So the training that they do on their own, it sounds like for you, the younger they are, it's more based on the fundamentals so that they can have the skill sets that they need so that when they go and train with the coaches that they're going to have at their clubs, they're usually putting in formations or different types of structure in their play, their game models. Is that about right? Is
Correct.
that kind of how it is?
Nowadays, I feel like youth soccer has gotten more, especially on the clubs, it's more the team structure. They're so team structured now. A lot of pattern passing, a lot of movement off the balls, a lot of formations, a lot of positional games. And they do very, very, very minimum individual stuff. So that's why I feel like personal trainers now are very important now because they're the ones that should be helping the kids on the individual side of the game, or like all these extra group trainings that a lot of trainers are providing now. That's where players should be executing more like the individual side of the game.
So for you, when you get a new student that comes in, do you assess them, or do you just like when you bring them in, you just kind of like go back to fundamentals to see if they have those things in place, and if not, do you put those in place? Like, how is it you get a brand new student? And I know you're busy now, so it's not like before where you had a lot of time. Now you're busy, so it seems like a lot more of your stuff is not so much individual. It's more like small group trainings.
Correct.
But how do you assess new? Like, let's say a mom or a dad wants to get their kid to train with you in your groups. Like, how do you know when to bring them in, how to bring them in, who to bring them in with? Like, how does that work?
So when a new student comes in, I usually, when I'm communicating with the parents, I always ask the level that they play, the team that they play. And depending on that information, they might get an invite to a group training. If I feel, depending on the team and the level that they play, if I feel they're too low just on paper based on the team that they play for, I'll invite them to one of our clinics or camps so that way I can actually see them. Because our group trainings are a little bit more advanced depending on the age. And I don't want the kid who comes for the first time to have a bad experience where if I put them in an environment where the kids are too advanced and the players having a hard time understanding. Because sometimes it's not even about the individual skills. Sometimes it's about like just following directions, right? I don't want the kid to feel like, oh, I'm not understanding this. And if I'm spending so much time with the player explaining, then I don't want the other players to be like, hey, Obed, today I didn't get a good training because you were focusing on the other kid to understand.
Right. Right. And so you have these small groups. What is I've always wondered, I kind of have a theory as to why you train in the smaller games training as opposed to being on a big field and doing, things that way or drills that are like far apart. I know you have those done as well with some of the more advanced players, but a lot of the group trainings you have at a very special place that you've created with one of the families, one of the very special families within the group. But it's all small-sided. It's all like very close. It's intimate. I have an idea of what I think it is, but I'd like to hear from you why that type of training as opposed to being on a bigger field.
I love small-sided games because you get exposed. In a small-sided game, if you're not technical, if you're not finesse, you're going to struggle. I feel like here in the United States, we focus a lot on height, strength, speed. Yeah, in a big field. But if, like I said, if you don't have your foundations, if you don't have your fundamentals, you're going to struggle in small-sided games because there's no space to run. Your first touch has to be good. Your individual skills have to be good. Your understanding of the game has to be very, very good. That's why I love small-sided games. We have a house that we use in Escondido. We call it the Lemon House, or the community has named it the Lemon House, and that's where we do our group trainings. And we've been very lucky enough to be able to coach a lot of top talent here in San Diego. And a lot of kids love coming there because they challenge each other, right? Like, we build a very good community where I, the saying that says iron sharpens iron, and it's been very, very good so far.
So on that note, you talked about the community. I'm a big believer in community. I think community is something that people either set out to create or it just organically creates itself. In terms of your community, it's a pretty big community now. How did that come about? Was it something that you were like, I'm trying to create this community of this kind of kids, or was it just like, I just want to get out there and coach, and you kind of got certain families and people together, and then eventually that spawned into a community? Like, how did that happen?
So I've been very blessed. When I got into coaching, my purpose of coaching was to help unprivileged kids. I caught a break like within 2 years of me into coaching. I used to volunteer my 2 first years of coaching. It was free. I helped the Hispanic community. A friend of mine, Mike Orozco, said, Obed, I love what you're doing in the community. Would you like to come and work on my program, which back then was co-SDFC, best program there was here in San Diego. They educated me to be a better coach. When I got into coaching competitor players, I noticed that there was a big problem. There was a lot of unappreciated players. And what I mean by that, a lot of coaches didn't believe in these kids. They were not the best friend of the team mom. So there was a lot of problems, or politics, if you want to say that. So then I said, well, if there's this unappreciated players with unprivileged kids, why don't we put them together? And that's where we started doing tournaments, and my name got around. And I was very blessed that we were doing a good job, and word of mouth advertisements or marketing was the best thing. 11 years forward now, like, I feel like I've been very blessed with the families that I have met throughout the years, because they were the ones that said, hey, my daughter or my son is working with so-and-so and so, you should come check them out. And they're the ones that have put me here. I feel like if it wasn't for you parents or the community, we wouldn't have what we have.
Well, I mean, yeah, it goes both ways. You got to have something. You got to have something good to offer. You got to have a community that, for most parents, is a positive community, so they feel safe that their kids are there. That not only are they learning to compete, to get better and develop, but also that they're in a safe space. And safe space for high-level competition means that you're going to fall on your face more times than not, but you're going to be okay with that because you're in a good place. You mentioned tournaments. So I remember one of the first tournaments that we had, that you invited Jaden to come play, and it was all the way down in South Bay where I'm from at Smythe Park. I don't know if you're familiar with that. It was the one that was up on the hill.
Yeah.
By the pool. Well, I grew up in that neighborhood.
Okay.
So I know exactly where it was. So when we got the invite, I was like, what are we doing all the way down here? Like, I didn't know. But when we got there, I didn't know that it was a boys team, that it was actually a whole boys team. I think Jaden might have been the only girl that day.
She was?
Yeah. And I have always heard people that have oh, we're going to train our girls with boys because it's more difficult, or whatever the case may be. And I'm sure there are benefits to that, and there are pros and cons. But that was the first time that it was there, and I remember when she went down there, I was excited just to see like how she was going to do. How do you figure, like, do you when you put a team together to do these tournaments? And I'm assuming you still kind of do that, yeah?
Yeah,
probably not
sometimes.
Not as much as you used to.
Not anymore.
It used to be a lot, but now you're so busy with other types of coaching, it's probably hard to get together.
Yeah.
Plus, you're graduating a huge class of kids, right?
Yes.
Jaden among them.
Yes.
So I know that you're starting. I have a lot of friends that have gone to you that have younger kids. So I'm excited to see them progress. But you didn't do tournaments. I don't think you do tournaments now like you did back then.
I do not. I do not. Now that you're touching the subject of tournaments, it's interesting. I step away from tournaments because I feel now it's everybody does tournaments. Everybody's trying to cherry pick the best talent, put an all-star team, put them in tournaments and win. They're chasing medals and trophies. They want to take credit that, oh, we're developing these players, or we have the best program. Well, yeah, anybody can win with the best players. Like, why don't you develop kids?
Yeah.
Right? And that's why I feel like back in the days, we as León FC had call attention, right, of doing tournaments because we were training the players, right? Everybody wanted to be part of the little groups that we were making. And that's why I step away from tournaments because everybody's fighting for the same kids. There's so many different programs here in San Diego now where the same girls play in the same program, right?
Yeah.
There's 5 different programs and the same girls play for all 5.
Right. So who are they really being developed by? It's just like they're out there, just practicing, which is fine. But I see what you're saying. It's like people kind of take credit for that kid, and all you have to do is just basically get some footage of them training with you, post it on social media, and even if you don't say that you're developing them, some people might get the impression, oh, I saw that girl or that boy training with him. That must be the trainer, and then all of a sudden that's like a business thing. So I understand that. Those tournaments, I like those tournaments. There was only one tournament that I was pissed off that you invited us to. And that's
I know
because
which one.
there was a really good girl on the team. I don't want to mention. She was a really good girl. And I have a problem with a good girl, but I just remember she just was scoring like at will, and she was so dominant to everybody else that it just wasn't fun or fair, and I felt bad for the other team. But one of the tournaments that we did play in that I thought I really liked the tournament, not because of the outcome, because we didn't win, but I liked the tournament because I saw a fire in my daughter that I had never seen before. And that was the reason why I was kind of hooked on, like, okay, this is good. Let's keep it going. And you know me, I don't get involved. Like, I take her where she needs to go, or my wife will take her where. Lisa handles all that deals with Jaden and you. Like, she handles all that. I don't handle it. I handle my boys, and she handles that. But I go to everything, so I watch all the games. I take in information. I talk to my kids. I talk to my daughter about how I see her playing and what I think she should be doing with my limited soccer knowledge, which is more about being a competitor than anything else. But the tournament that got me fired up was, I don't know if you remember this, but it was at Forest Ranch. It was against that stacked Blues team when they had so many good girls, young girls. And Jaden, and she had her little team, and we were winning the game. This was supposed to be like one of the top teams in the whole country at the time, and they were stacked. And I saw Jaden's competitive fire in that game, and she was going. I never see her. She's very nonchalant. If she scores a goal or something, she doesn't really celebrate, which I love because I'm not big on that. But she never was. But in that game, like, she was pushing hard, and I saw it in her eyes. Those are the kind of moments that I thought your tournaments were really, really done well for. Like, those are the kind of things that I would rather spend a weekend watching our kids compete because they loved it, they had fun. And I always loved watching the boys when you put boys and girls teams together, I would love to watch them go out and just beat all boys teams.
Yes, I remember that one. I remember that tournament. It was Surf Cup. If I remember correctly, it was the one in August. If I wasn't the one in August, it was a Thanksgiving one. I remember that Blues Cup. The girls made a huge name for themselves after that tournament. We were beating Blues.
Yeah.
Then they came back and they beat us.
Yeah.
But like you said, they were stacked. And I remember one of their best players at that time came up to us and they're like, who are you guys? Like, we've never heard León FC. Who are these girls? I've never seen them in my life. And I explained to them what we were doing. I'm just a trainer that trains these girls. We play because we were playing already Friday nights at that time. We were playing Friday nights, and we made our team to do tournaments because they train with me on the side, whatever. And they were like, oh, well, I'm very impressed. I remember our coach, I'm not going to mention his name either, came up to me and he's like, I'm very impressed with these girls. Like, where do they play? Who do they train? I would love to bring them to my club. And I said, well, they're not my players, so I can't speak for them. For them, you can talk to their parents, you know what I mean? But the girls made a name for themselves after that tournament, I remember.
Yeah, those were honestly, in the last 9 years of, training, Jaden training with you and doing these tournaments, doing all this stuff, like, it's been so much fun to see her flourish in her game, in her relationships. Like the one thing I love about your program and having all kids from all over the county that come, some from the south, from the north, everywhere, they're all there. I've seen so many different people, is that my daughter's been able to get like a huge group of friends, people that, you know, that she, whenever she plays another club, 9 times out of 10, she knows 1 or 2 players on that club. Because not all the players play on the same club, right? They're all in different places.
Yeah.
But I love that community that you built that allows those players to be super competitive, but also be, you know, friendly. And they're never friendly like on the pitch. They get after it. But when they're off the pitch, like they're friendly, they're hanging out, they're doing stuff outside, like they have this big group. And now that most of these kids are graduating, that's in Jaden's class, most of them will be graduating next year. Jaden's graduating this year, a year early. It's going to be sad not to have that stuff to really go to. And I don't have any younger kids that play soccer. I'm done. Like for now, I'm done.
Yeah.
So we're probably going to be hanging around, checking out, you know, the different things that you guys got going on. But in terms of like when you, I kind of wanted to know about like your philosophy on the kids that are dealing with programs that don't really want players to be outside with other coaches. Now we've had this firsthand experience, right? Issue, but why do coaches feel like players should stick with their clubs and like nowhere else? It feels like a lot of those coaches that are there, they don't. And we had this happen to us where they don't want you getting coached by other people. Or this was much more relevant maybe 5 years ago. I think it's a little bit more lax now. But like, what's your opinion on that? Like, should coaches be able to tell players like you can't have this private stuff? Like, you need to be within the club.
I think it depends. Should they tell a family what to do? I don't think they should, because at the end of the day, it's your child, it's your time, it's your money, right? And you're looking for what's best for your child at the end of the day, right? But then it gets very tricky, right? For example, I've been training some of my students, like your daughter, for 9 years. The owners of the Lemon House, where I do my trainings, I've been training them for, I want to say, 6-7 years now. So a lot of my students that I train, they've been with me for more than 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years, right? And I always tell families, if you're looking for a soccer trainer, I'm not your guy. Anybody can teach you soccer. Even social media can teach you soccer nowadays with how social media is so powerful now. If you're looking for a mentor, if you're looking for someone who's going to be there to help you out when you're struggling, if you're looking for a friend off the field, then I can be that person. And that's what, like I said earlier today, that has been my secret sauce. I feel like the relationships that we've made throughout these years on and off the field have helped me to build these long-term relationships with players, but with the family members too. I feel like I've been very lucky for families like yours to trust me with your daughter in this case. And that, I feel like it's a very tricky question. I know, because I've told a lot of families too, like, if you train with X, Y, and Z, then I'm not going to train your kid. Because it gets tricky, right? Because if you come to me, hey, Obed, I want you to work with my daughter and I want you to help her with this, and we're trying to execute certain things, or we have a projection or when to hit those executions, but then you go somewhere else and they give you a different opinion, or they give you like the opposite of what we're working, then the kids get confused. And that's what myself, we try to avoid sometimes. Excuse me. And another thing is, in my case, we try to provide the whole service. And what I mean by the whole service is, if you're looking for private training, we'll provide you private training. If you're looking for more of a group scenario, we have the group trainings at the Lemon House. If you're looking for more games, we have the Friday night leagues. And sometimes we might throw in a tournament here and there, but I try to step away from the tournaments now because there's so much going on, you know.
Right. That sounds. I mean, we've been involved in all that, in the privates, the small games, the tournaments, and the Friday nights, which I think is awesome. I think the fact that you have all that is awesome. You get a new parent that brings their kid in. Like, in your opinion, what's the best thing that a parent can do to help their child in the sport of soccer? you just get, it's a brand new person, their kid loves soccer, and they come to you and they say, hey, I heard about you, everyone's talking about you, you've trained this, like I want my son or daughter to come and train with you. Like, what's your advice to them so that they can get the best experience?
So when a new family comes and asks me, hey, Obed, I would like you to train my child, I always ask, what do they need? What is it that you're looking for? Because at the end of the day, they're paying for a customer service. So I try to give the best customer service possible. If they're looking for technical stuff, the foundation, the fundamentals, then that's a private setting, in my opinion. If they're looking for shooting or certain things, private setting. Oh, well, my kid needs to be a little bit more physical. He needs to be more intense. He needs to be able to take on people. Then that's a group setting. Oh, but I feel like my son or daughter doesn't understand the game, how to move, how to do this. Then that's the Friday night league, right? Because that's the game structure now. So it just depends on what they're looking for.
That makes sense because everybody's different. Every kid is different in terms of what they need. The biggest thing for me is, what about the parent that doesn't know anything about soccer? Like, if I were to came and brought my daughter to you when I first started, like, I didn't know anything about soccer. I just brought her to you because I saw what another kid did, and I knew that kid, and I saw them get better. So how do you approach somebody that doesn't know? They don't come to you and say, hey, my kid is this, my kid is that. They're just like, hey, I want my kid to be good at soccer.
My advice to them would be research. Nowadays, there's so many trainers. There's so many programs. Research. See why this coach will benefit to your child, why this coach wouldn't, right? Their work should speak for themselves.
So it's more on the parent to figure out what it is they want for their kid. It sounds like you'd be willing to coach them and to figure out, and like you said before, figure out where their level is, what level they're playing at, what they think their kid needs to work on. But it's more important that the parent understand that it's really up to them to find that proper coach.
Correct.
Somebody that's going to be good for their child.
Yes.
Yeah, I agree. Because a lot of times parents want to kind of throw money at a problem. Like, this guy's the best supposedly. Let me just go pay him for 10 sessions or whatever it is, and my kid's going to be this, when they don't really understand that it's not about that. Like, what does your kid want? What does your kid? What's their goal? What are their strengths? What are their weaknesses? What do they need to work on? What can make them better? Like, what are they missing in their game that will make them a better athlete? And a lot of times, I think parents just don't know what it is, which is fine. Like, if you don't know, research, figure it out. Like, figure out a way to dial into your child, because everyone's child is different, and all you have to do is focus on yours. You're not worried about competition, just worried about yours, and figure out what is. I think that most parents don't end up doing that.
Yeah, because when you tell the parent to research a little bit, it's like you're trying to educate them too, right? Because they're going to have to do a little bit of behind-the-scene work. Oh, I like this coach, but why? What does he bring to the table? And then if you go to this coach, what does he do different than the other coach that you search first? What are the players that they're working with? What are the players that worked with him before? And how come these players are not working, but how come this coach is doing this? And how come this, you know what I mean? So You're educating the parent. One of the things that I do in my program is not all money is good money. I turn down a lot of students, because we don't get along. We don't get along with the parents. A lot of parents that come sometimes that are not educated in the game, they ask you, hey, Obed, boy, if you train my kid X amount of times, is he going to be like this? I can't promise you that. Yeah. I'm a big believer that nobody develops players. They develop themselves. Our job as coaches, trainers, or whatever title we want to give ourselves is to give you guys tools. And it's up to you guys to apply those tools. Because if we were that good of trainers, developers, how come you only develop 5 players, but what about the other 100 that you train?
Right.
So it's themselves.
Yeah, I also think, too, that people need to realize that these are team sports. So the level of success that you're going to have, if they're chasing success at the youth level, which I don't really believe in, because nobody's going to remember a championship when you're 8, 9, 10 years old. Like, nobody really cares. You have a trophy that I just threw away probably 30 trophies when I moved from the 80s when I played. And I don't know why I kept them, but I just threw them away. No one remembers that stuff. But it's all part of the team. So teaching your player to be the best player they can be and being able to understand what their role is within the team is going to determine whether or not that team has success, if everybody's on the same page. But I think a lot of people, sometimes they look for the success as opposed to what's best for their kid and how their kid's going to best develop, right? Because everybody wants their kid to be the best they can be, but a lot of times they gauge that on how many championships their team has won. Like, I don't know how you feel about that, but for me, it doesn't really mean anything, those championships.
Well, nowadays, I feel like because I usually send invites to go to the Lemon House for our group trainings. When I send invites, I would tell the family, hey, group training tonight at this time, at this location, blah, blah, blah. The parents always ask, oh, who's coming? Oh, if X, Y, and Z is not there, I'm not going. Oh, but if A, B, and C is there, I'm going. So to add to what you're saying is, sometimes parents get caught up on that, right? About like training with the best kids, winning the best tournament, chasing trophies, chasing medals. But what about the other side of the game? If your kid is that good, like a lot of parents say their kids are, how come they can't be the leader? Why can't they go train with a little bit lower end kids and be the leader, to learn how to be patient, to build character, to be the teammate that tells, hey, Jesse, you're not doing that right. Why don't you try this instead? You know what I mean? Be a leader, because sometimes, like I said earlier today, to me the game is just a chair. Sometimes it's beyond just the game, right? So sometimes players need to work more mentally too.
Yeah. No, I get what you're saying. In terms of those, so on like the top players, you mentioned these top players. What is it that you see in these top players that's kind of a consistent in all of them? Like, is there something that you see, because you have boys, you have girls, you have all different ages that are top players. What is it you see that makes them great, or not so much makes them great, but like is consistent in that person, like that trait or that characteristic in that player? And every player you've seen has like that. Is there one or two things that they all kind of have?
Out of the best players that I've trained, what I've seen the difference is their dedication with their discipline. I'll use your daughter as an example. I've been very lucky to coach her for all these years. But the thing that keeps amazing me of her is that every time she comes from like a USA camp or training with the Wave, now that she does that, it's like, hey, Obed, can I train today? Can I train today? Can you train me tomorrow? It's just how much she works behind the scenes. A lot of players or a lot of families always tell me, Obed, well, Jaden's so good. Yeah, but you don't know all the work that she does, right? I have another student, I'll mention his name, Rocco. I took over Rocco, I said, like a year and a half ago, and he trains so much, and he's always, I want to train more, I want to train more, I want to train more. So that's what I think is what separates them from everybody else. Yes, everybody has the same dream about being pro athlete or going to college, but what are you doing to get you that? Or what are you doing that others are not doing?
Yeah, so it's the ambition. It's that passion that they have and that they want to keep playing. But on that note, like, is there such a thing as too much training? Because a lot of times people, and I don't know what type of training it is that you do, like soccer. I've seen you do stuff, but like a football player, you have to take breaks. You have to have time for your body to recover. Most athletes do, but it's a much more physical sport, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, how much is too much? Or can they train all the time, but on different things that are like maybe more technical? They're not as physical on their body. They're more mental. Like, I get the training all the time, and it's something that we kind of work with Jaden because she's always wanting to do stuff, and that's just her personality. She loves doing it. But we always wonder, like, is too much training, or is there such a thing? Or is there a way to train all the time and just focus on different things so you're not burning out or getting hurt?
Correct. That's a hard one. I just had this conversation with another parent about if there's too much training, because my answer to that is it's so interesting how a lot of people are getting hurt now. When I feel we're in a stage in sports where there's so much medicine and there's so many tools for recovery. So my question always to the players is, or the parents I ask, Obed, like, is there too much training? They might be a lot of too much training, but what are they doing to recover? Are they hydrating? Are they eating healthy? Are they sleeping well? Are they stretching before trainings? Are they cooling off after trainings? So it depends on the load that a lot of kids have. Sometimes we go a little bit more mellow. Players that train with me 2, 3, 4 times a week, plus whatever they're doing with their clubs. So we try to adjust to what they're doing, right? We can be more shooting or less running or more finesse first touch. So it just depends on the load that they're having too.
I've noticed that a lot with Jaden and the higher levels that she starts to play, that they really take notice of her load. Load meaning how much she's working, how much is she sprinting. They have those trackers and stuff now that they have on their chest, so they know how many steps, how many times are you accelerating, how many times are you just jogging, you know what I mean? Like all that kind of stuff, which I think is great, because I think a lot of parents should know that recovery is a big part. And I work in the nutrition business, so understanding what it takes to fuel your body before workouts, after workouts, just throughout the day, hydration, sleep. You mentioned a lot of the good things that athletes should really be on top of. And again, that's not at the beginning. It's not on the athlete; it's on the parent, because the athlete doesn't know. They just want to go play. They're kids, you know what I mean? But then the older the kids get, now we don't really talk to Jaden too much about it anymore because we've already kind of instilled it. And, you know, she's not going to listen to her parents as much as she will to other people that she respects. So she'll get it from us, and then she'll hear it from other people. Now she's hearing it from professionals and people like that. So now it's becoming more of an important thing. And now that she's actually starting to apply it, I think that her ceiling is going to be even higher, because now she can start gaining muscle and getting stronger and recovering faster and actually going to a game fueled, which most of these kids will go to the game on nothing in their stomach, or something totally bad. They'll have a huge breakfast, pancakes, like the wrong kind of stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they'll just go there sluggish and won't be able to perform.
And that's huge. That's huge. A lot of people don't take care of their bodies, and at the end of the day, your body's the one that got you to be where you are. So you got to take care of your body.
Yeah, exactly. In terms of camps that you have, when you have these big camps, and you have them all the time, I think you just came from one today, but you have, right? You have them all the time. Are these like mini workouts for people to just keep themselves fresh? Is it like an introduction to your philosophy, which I think you mentioned it kind of would be to certain people? Like, what's the purpose of having all of these regular camps that you have and the coaches will have all the time? Like, what's the purpose behind it?
The purpose of my camps, one, is to meet new players. Like I mentioned earlier today, the ones that don't get the invite to our group trainings, because like I said, the group trainings are a little bit more advanced. The new incoming players are welcome to all these camps. They're not open to rec players. They're only open to competitive players. And then the number two reason why we do our camps is because we can have a larger number of kids, because the group trainings that we do throughout the week, there's a smaller end. So here we can be open and plus more space now. And it gives the ability for players to train with other players from different clubs, hear voices from different coaches, because I have my coaching staff. So depending on how big the camp is, I usually bring 5, 6, up to 10 coaches. So our regular players will hear a different voice.
Oh, that's smart. That's smart, so that way you guys have the same message, but it's from a different person. So it's like the message stays consistent, but the messenger changes, so that kids can actually hear it from somebody else. Because I know as a parent, you're a parent, half the stuff you say goes in one ear and goes out the other a lot of times, depending upon how your relationship is with your child. If you've got a really good relationship with your kid, then they'll take in some of it. But even the best of relationships, and I think I have great relationships with my kids, as they get older, it starts to change, because they've been listening to mom or dad for 10 years. Now they're just kind of over it, and they want to hear from someone else.
No, yeah. And one of the things that I feel like having other staff, different voices, sometimes the vocabulary that we use is a little bit different, right? So the way that when you coach, as an example, let's say we're coaching Jaden and you use certain vocabularies, might make more sense to her than the vocabulary that I use, right? And I might be like, hey, Jaden, do this. And it's like, oh, but I'm having a hard time. But then you come and you have a different vocabulary, and it might make sense to her. It might click.
Right.
So that's one of the pros about having different staff members, right? Because everybody took different courses or got educated differently. So that's what I like, right? To have different coaches, because our staff is different coaches from different clubs, right? We come together and we share ideas or our knowledges, so that way we can continue growing ourselves too, right?
Right. No, it makes a lot of sense, because having a different perspectives from different people, it's just easier to get because when you have a huge amount of kids, they're not all going to learn the same way. They're all different, and some of them are going to be more visual, some of them are going to need to be pushed harder, some of them need to be a little bit softer push, because that's their personality. They're more introverts. So I totally understand how all of that works. And I think it's great that you have a lot of different coaches at your guys' trainings, because it's advantageous for everybody. In terms of like how you see, I've been watching soccer like a lot now for probably I'd say 5 years. 5 years of like I really got into the sport. Like I follow all the teams. Like if there's a soccer game on, I turn it on, I watch it. I never watched soccer before, like never. But I like it now because my daughter's in it. I understand it, and now I understand why it's an exciting game, and I see the skill it takes to be good at it. In terms of what's going on in the U.S., because you've experienced it in Mexico, you see it all over the world. It's the world game. It's not the U.S. game. It's the world game, and we're trying to bring that to the U.S. with all the technologies that we have, the athleticism that we have, and the wealth that we have in this country that other countries don't have. Yet we still can't seem to like break through and be successful on the men's side. The women's side have been highly successful, but the world's kind of caught up to them, and so they're still at the top. But now there's competition. What do you think is the key for the younger generation to do to really be put on par with these teams across the world? Like, what is it we're not doing, in your opinion, as a coach, and that parents can help their kids do to get that much better so that they can raise the level of soccer in the United States?
My personal opinion, I feel like we're not a part to the rest because I feel, number one, we don't have a good leader, like in U.S. soccer. I feel like everybody's trying to go their own separate ways. I feel like we need to have a good leader, and then the leader's idea should go to the next group of guys, which those guys should be expanded in the United States to share that knowledge with everybody. And I feel like, I don't know if you're familiar with MLS and ECNL. You see MLS wants power, ECNL wants power, right? And because they're fighting, it's so hard. So until everyone is in the same boat, I think we're going to continue to struggle.
And that has to happen from the top, I'm assuming, from, because how does it, I don't really know how the whole thing works. I kind of have a general idea, but it's like U.S. soccer at the top, right? And then beneath that, they're all private clubs and private organizations, though, right?
Correct. And but then they'll respond to U.S. soccer. Right?
So U.S. soccer sets the main rules.
Yeah.
But then these other organizations, like, I guess it's because you can't just have one. You have to allow the free market be the free market, and that's probably what the issue is in the United States, is that we're a profit-driven country, which is, I mean, it is what it is. We are who we are because of that, so you can't really fault it. But I think that when it comes to that we don't have, our mentality is more on making money than it is on, like, developing national players.
Correct.
Yeah. I just figured that out in my head while I'm talking to you.
Yeah. Pay to play.
Yeah.
It's been a big topic the last, I wouldn't say like 10 years, but I feel like the last 3-4 years it has picked up a lot, the topic of play to play. You know, there's a lot of talent that doesn't get discovered. I don't know if you're familiar, but like last week there was a tournament called TST. It's a 7v7.
Yeah, I saw it. I saw it for the first time. It was really exciting.
People were playing for $1 million. Josie Altidore, who is an ex...
I remember him. U.S. soccer player.
Yes. He just shared... he had an interview and he shared, he's like, I'm shocked how much talent there was, and none of these players made it pro.
Yeah.
Right? They got lost. And, you know? So that should tell you, you know, there's a lot of talent that doesn't even make it because of pay to play, unfortunately.
Right. So okay, so let's say you have a mom or dad that they're unfortunate. They have a kid that they see potential in. He's athletic or she's athletic. They're go-getters. They're passionate, but they just can't afford to go play. Like, what should they do? How should they figure out how to get their kid some exposure on a team? Like, what's available out there that you know of that people that have those problems can try to solve it?
Well, there's, I believe, if I'm correct, all the clubs here in San Diego that I'm aware of, they offer financial aid. So depending on how much the family makes and you apply for financial aid, they should be able to help you out to cover some of the partial fees. I can speak for myself. When I used to help the unprivileged kids, I took 4 kids to a club, and I got them full scholarships because I spoke on behalf of them, right? Now I've been doing this for 11 years now. Sometimes a lot of club coaches call me, hey, Obed, I'm looking for a player this age. And if I know the family, if they need financial help, I usually speak for them. I tell them, hey, well, I got you this player, but they're gonna need some financial help, and they usually are very good about that.
So finding somebody that they can add. So every club has something that they can help with. You just have to get there, and obviously you have to be of the level of caliber that they're looking for in order to help them. Right?
Correct. Correct.
So how do we, like, what's a good way to try to help the kids that maybe don't have that caliber? Because they're going to not really go to the clubs. They're really going to need to probably find trainings. They're probably going to need to build the foundations and the fundamentals in order to get them to be good enough to where they can see those other, seek those opportunities with clubs. Is it more, I know that you've coached players that didn't have much financial resources, and you allow them to train with you because you want to help them get better, and you probably do it because of your background, knowing what your coach did for you. And so you're
Correct.
kind of giving back.
Correct.
Like, are there a lot of other coaches that you know of that do that?
I don't know. Honestly, I don't know if like big coaches that have been doing this for years do it. I don't know if other programs do it. I know of one of the coaching staff that I coach. He coaches at Logan Heights, and I know he volunteers his time, and he helps a lot of unprivileged kids. I used to work for a program, and I remember when I worked there, I used to always tell them, like, we should be giving sibling discounts. So if the family has 3 kids, they should be paying 2, and one should be, you know what I mean? Because soccer here in the United States, so expensive, so expensive. And I remember they used to tell me, Obed, nothing is free. You should not be giving them free. And I was like, but it's not free. It's just a discount because they're already paying for 2 other,
Right.
But unfortunately, they didn't agree with my philosophy, so
Right.
that's why I parted ways. You know what I mean? I have, because of my background, like I come from a very low income, I try to give back, right? And I will always give back.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's one of the things that, our family loves about you is the way that you treat your community, the way you treat your kids, that the kids are more like, they're like extended family as opposed to just being like another athlete. And I think that's why you have so much success. You've had so much success in building the community that you've had, which is one of the reasons why I wanted people to really hear, like, these are the kind of coaches you want to surround yourself with, people that have your child's best interest at heart. Like, those are the kind of people because, the skills are the skills. Either your kids are going to get them or they're not going to get them. Some kids are just naturally inclined to be better at certain sports, and others aren't, and that's okay. I think people need to understand, like, not every kid is meant to be an athlete. And as an athletic parent, like, the one thing that we think our kids all have is our athletic genes, and sometimes they don't. It's unfortunate, but they don't always have it. They have what they have, and so it's really important to try to figure out where they are. Put them in a good community, find a good coach, and see exactly what it is that coach can help bring out of whatever it is that your child has inside of them.
No, yeah, and you touched the subject, like, I genuinely love my kids. I call my kids, all my students, I love my kids, We built a little tradition in I want to say last year now. After all the Monday trainings, we usually get like a group of kids, like 6, 7 kids, and we go to BJ's every Monday. Every Monday we go hang out. I feel like you said, Jaden has built a little group of friends that they're like brothers and sisters, you know what I mean? And sometimes I'm like their big brother, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
Because you're not old.
Well, not yet, but I treat these kids like they're my own kids, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? I treat them the way I want my kids to be treated, right? Because both of my kids play sports too, and I hate when coaches are just like all over them for no reason, you know what I mean? So I treat all my students the way I want my kids to be treated.
And that's funny. I mean, I always know your son played soccer, but your daughter, Angie, just started playing like not too long ago.
She just started her 2nd year.
Right? And I remember watching her run around when she was little, and I'm like, that girl's never going to play soccer. Like, she didn't have no interest at all. How does that work on you as a coach and as a dad? Like, is it something you wanted her to play, or was it just like, whatever she's going to do, like, I hope she does, but if she doesn't, like, it's okay? Like, how did you feel? Like, I know how I feel as a parent, as a former football player, and having 2 boys. Like, I wanted them to love my sport.
So I have a son who's going to be 16. I was his coach till he was probably 10. And I was a typical soccer crazy parent here in the United States. Like, I was toxic. I used to scream at him. I used to coach him on the sidelines. until he told me, Dad, you know what? I don't want to play soccer no more. You put way too much pressure on me, and it's my journey, not your journey no more. And that's when it hit me. Like, you know what? He's right. It's his journey, not mine. And I let him be. You know, I let him make his choices. I'm very supportive of him. If he wants to play with X team, and I say, if that's what you want to do, I'll support him. With Angie, I was heartbroken when she told me, Dad, I want nothing to do with soccer. I was heartbroken. She did competitive dance. And just last year, she's like, Dad, I don't want to do competitive dance. I want to do soccer, and best day ever. Best day ever. Best day ever. And it's interesting because Nathan never asked to train. Nathan is the type of kid that you're the one that has to be telling him, hey, let's go train, let's go do it.
Sometimes that's just the boy. It's just a boy thing. My boys are like that. They hardly ever want to train. When I tell them to go train, they train.
Yeah, doesn't
they train
Nathan.
hard, but I got to do it.
Yeah.
Jaden never had to ask.
And the little one, Angie, is like all over me. Daddy, can you do a private for me? Dad, can you train me? Dad, can you make me a group? And I said, no. I'm going to let you be you. I'm going to be your number one fan. I'm going to sit on the sideline, and I'm just going to enjoy it, because I never had the opportunity to do that with my older son, because I was his coach for so many years, right? And with her, it's going to be the other way. I learned my lesson.
So you're just what, finding good coaches for her to be around?
I'm looking for a coach. You know, I reach out to 3 private trainers, and I ask, hey, would you guys like to train my daughter? And all 3 say no.
I find that odd, because I'm when they're young, I've molded all of my kids into athletes, like regardless of the sport, just into athletes, because I know how to be athletic. You know, I'm growing up as an athlete and training as an athlete for many years. I know what it takes to be athletic. So I've just instilled athleticism in all of them. I was able to work with my boys because they play my sport, and that's something that I know about. So I was able to teach them the sport, and I was excited to teach them the sport. My philosophy was I teach them the sport until they get to a certain age, and then once the fundamentals and the foundations are all there, I turn them over to high school. So I'm at that point now. I did that with Jacob. I didn't do it with Jaden because I didn't know the sport. So I had to find somebody like you who was me for soccer, right? For my boys, you were for my daughter for soccer, because I didn't know how to do that. But my youngest now, he's at the point where I only have 1 more year with him, and then I turn him over to high school. And then I get to be the dad. And then I get to sit back and watch. But the reason why I did that way, and I understand, like I find it weird, but I understand it. But the reason why I do it that way is because I know what I'm talking about in my sport. You know what you're talking about in your sport. I would want to make sure that my kid knew everything they needed to know when they're little, because that's when they're the most impressionable, and that's when I can get through them the most. When they get older is when it gets hard, because they don't want to listen to dad anymore.
Yeah.
Like, they know everything.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I would say, man, you should reconsider that. You have so much knowledge inside of you. You just have to figure out the way to coach her to where it keeps dad and coach separate. When we're on the field, I'm coach. When we get in the car, I'm dad. And if you can master that, and it takes time, because I had to do it with my first. If you can master that, I think Angie would get so much more out of it, because first of all, she's going to have all that time with you. Everything she's going to learn is going to come from you. And then when she's ready to be turned over, you can turn her over if that ever even happens. So I would say, just from one dad to another, like, I would reconsider that.
From dad to daddy, I'm afraid, because I don't want to make the same mistake I made with Nathan.
But you know what those mistakes are.
Yeah.
So this is what I teach. I teach in my course is how to create that agreement, like where you say, okay, Angie, what do you want to do? I want to play soccer. Okay, great. Let's start to dream. Let's dream big. How far do you want to go? And she's little, so you don't really know. Just want to see where she's at. And she's probably going to say she wants to be a professional, like somebody, right? Whoever she knows. So that's where she wants. Okay, now this is what it's going to take. We're going to have to do this, trainings, workouts. We have to eat good. We got to get a lot of sleep. We have to do all this stuff. Are you willing to do all this stuff? And maybe at this age she says yes. Maybe she says no. Maybe she says, I'm willing to do this part. Okay, that's what you're going to do. You're going to do that? Okay. This is what dad's role is. You want me to coach you? Okay, so when we're on the pitch, I'm your coach. You don't call me dad, you call me coach. And if I tell you to do something, you don't question me. You just do it. And she said, okay. And then this is what we're going to do. These things, this many days a week. Okay, all right. And you put it on a piece of paper, and you get a little contract, and she signs it, and you sign it. And you say, here, put this. This is your copy. This is mine. So now I'm teaching her accountability, agreements, what's expected of her, and what she can expect of me. There's no controversy. So now it's clear. And then at the end of that season, you redo it. Like, okay, how'd the season go? Did you like it? Did you like how we worked out? Yeah. Do you want to keep doing it? Good. Let's do another agreement. Same thing. Now do we want to add anything? And you just keep it going. What that does is it helps you clarify what it is your daughter or your son can expect from you and what you expect from them. And you both agree to it. And if you guys agree to it, because you've already stepped away. So you can tell her, if you don't do your part, then I'm going to find you a different coach. And, and if I don't do my part, then you can find a different, you can fire me. Or if I do my part, we can stay together. Whatever the agreement.
Yeah.
But the point is that don't be afraid of it. In my opinion, like, attack it. It's a good problem. She's still, how old is she? 8, 9?
9.
She's 9 years old, bro. She's so young. Like, she's very impressionable right now. And if you do those things, and then find somebody to maybe help her with agility or help her with something different, so she has a different coach, something that maybe that's not your specialty, but what you know how to do and what you consider your expertise, I would coach her on that, bro. I wouldn't let nobody else coach my kid on what I know how to do.
And especially because she looks for me. She's the one always texting me, Dad, can you do a private for me? Not today, baby. Dad, can you do a group training for me? No. Dad, can I go to your group trainings? Like, she's the one asking and asking. And I asked a few coaches, and they said no. I'm not sure if they didn't want to train her because she's brand new. Like I said, this is going into her second year of playing competitive soccer. Or because I do this for a living, and they might think that I'm going to have expectations of what they have to deliver. Where, I'll be honest with you, I'm not even going to be the one taking her to the trainings. Her mom is be the one taking her to all the things. It'd be like you sending the money. That's it.
Yeah. If I were you, bro, like, I would reconsider just because of that. I at least try it like on a trial basis. Just tell her, hey, yeah, I want to, but in order for us, you have to, in my opinion, you have to get the commitment from the child in order for them to buy in and really understand what it is that you're going to do. And you do that by sitting down and finding out what they want, having a conversation about it, about what you expect, what they can expect from you, and what the commitment level is. And then we just start attacking it. And if it's something that she wants, she's going to figure out, like, I like this. Or she's going to figure out, like, oh, I don't like this. Like, I don't like this. And then you have I do it after when they were little. We don't do it anymore because they've already kind of ingrained what they want. Now we just re-implement the plan of action. Like, what are we doing to get better? Like, Jonah, we're feeding him all the time. Lisa's meal prepping food all the time because he's in that growth phase.
Yeah.
So he eats so much protein. He eats his carbs before stuff, but he's protein-based, and he's always eating. I don't wake him up until he wakes up. Now that he's out of school for the summer, like, he has to go to bed at a reasonable hour, but I don't wake him up. I let him sleep because that's when the growth hormones are exposed to your body, and that's when you grow the most. And so, my wife's small, and I'm average size, so I need him to get all the sleep he can get and all the food to maximize his height, whatever that's going to be. But, man, I would say try it. Short term, bro. You know what I mean?
Especially now with summertime, right?
It's summertime. Get a new thing out, and I guarantee you her eyes are going to light up that you want to do that. And it's just the kid. I could say this too. As a father of 4, my oldest just turned 21 yesterday, 19. Jaden's 17, going off to college. Jonah's 14, last one I have in the house. Like, it goes by fast, dude. The most time you can spend with your kids, like, do it. You won't regret it. Like, we've spent every moment with them, but it's already gone. Yeah. Like, it's already, like, the last one's here. I got 4 or 5 years left, and then he's going to be off where he's off. And then we got to find new people to go watch kids play new sports. But I would say that, man. Take that into consideration.
I'm going to have to.
Cool. Well, dude, I had a great talk. I appreciate your time, dude. Thanks so much for
thank you for
making some time in your
appreciate it.
Busy schedule, jumping on the program. We're going to do, I'm going to do a couple of rapid fire questions for you. Let me pull them up, and I'll figure out what these questions are real quick. First question. Favorite soccer player of all time and why?
Ronaldinho.
That's mine too.
Why? Because he reminds me, or he's a style of player that I want to mold. And what I mean by that is I'm a big believer that kids have to enjoy what they're doing. You ask all my students every time they train, it's like, smile, stop being so serious, smile, giggle. And the kids hate it. And I always tell them, look at Ronaldinho. And
yeah, he's amazing. I've never really liked soccer. Now I go back and watch all these people that I never really was watching because I wasn't watching soccer. But now that I like soccer, I watch all these old clips and I say, who's that? Then I go back and I'll watch all their stuff and I'm so amazed. But he's my favorite just because of that, for that main reason. he was super skilled, but has so much fun. He just has fun all the time. Like, what a great life.
Yes.
What is worse? Missing an open goal, like an open net, or missing a pass to an open goal or to a goal?
I said the pass.
Why the pass?
Because if you don't give the good pass, you're not even going to get the shot.
Okay. All right. I mean, if you miss both of them, it's a problem. But I was just
No,
curious.
yeah, because you know how they always say, like, you're never going to score the goals of the shot if you never take a shot.
Yeah.
But if we're talking a pass, if we don't even give the pass to you, you're not even going to get to the shot.
Oh, right.
Right? And if
It's
my
like the
teammate
step
doesn't
before.
yes. It's interesting because that's one of the biggest things that I look when I talk to parents. Sometimes we're so stuck on the execution. But what about the pre-work? If your pre-work is not good, you're not even going to get to the execution.
Yeah. No, I hear you. All right. What's one word that you hope every player you coach leaves with?
Word for me? Accountability
Oh, I love that one.
or integrity.
Oh, that's even better. That's a good one. And then the last one here is, what is the hard truth parents of athletes need to hear, but they don't want to?
I want to say, like, stop rushing their process. Like, everybody's journey is different. I feel like a lot of parents love to compare. Why is A and B here, but they're not here? Or how come, like, I feel like a lot of parents try to rush. And they feel like the more training they do, they're going to get what they need to be. And it's not like that. Everybody's journey is different. Their time is going to come. Just because your time didn't come this year doesn't mean it's not going to come in 2 or 3 years. You know what I mean? Enjoy the journey.
Yeah, no, I agree. That's a good one.